needs zero introduction. She is amazing with a top podcast that she has created over the years. She is a hot, fabulous mama, has her pulse on all things celebrity gossip, and she loves small talk like I do. Welcome to the show, not skinny but not fat, Amanda Hirsch.
Oh my God, thank you. But I don't really love small talk. Like, not with like randoms. Like, not with like, the principal of, my son's school. That I'm like bad at.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Amanda, you strike me as a woman. What I appreciate about your personality is, do you tell him that? You also strike me as a person where you would just walk in and be like, I'm sorry, I can't small talk to you. Like, I don't want to. Like, you strike me as direct.
I am, but not really on purpose. Like, usually when that kind of comes out, it's like, oh my God, did I just say that? No, I do have, all the socially awkward, at least, feelings inside that everyone talks about. Like, and it doesn't add up with like, being able to talk to certain people like on the podcast or something. But like I was saying, like, it's hard for me to like make a reservation on the phone and like call. I'm always like, hi, can I please? Like, I get weird. I like don't know what to do. If the bank calls, I don't know how to talk. I get very weird talking like about normal adult things,
Yeah, I could understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it comes to celebrities, you
Yeah.
have no hesitation.
Yeah, with that, no. Because I'm ready to roll, It's like, give me what I know. Give me what I know.
You know it. Well, I can relate to you on many levels, but you're a mom. You're about to become a mom for a second time. You're 30, a little beyond 36 weeks now, or how far?
Yeah, 36 to the day today. Yeah, it's far along.
Are you ready for baby to arrive, or are you a person that loves being pregnant?
Okay, not a person that loves being pregnant. A person that needs to remind myself that like my pregnancies were pretty good and I shouldn't complain, even though then you have all the people that are like, mama, complain away. And you're like, true, I can complain. But then you're like, wait, people have really rough pregnancies, or people really want to get pregnant. And you just become this like, so sometimes I'm like thankful and hashtag blessed and hashtag, and sometimes I'm like, get it out of me. But then you're like, wait, the baby part is harder than the pregnancy part usually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can still kind of live your life pregnant, whereas when the baby comes, like, that shit is changing. So sometimes I'm like, am I ready for him to come? Do I rather him stay inside for more time? So I haven't decided yet. That depends on the day. Like, that depends on how over it I am. But I'm pretty over it. I'm pretty over like just walking everywhere with my huge belly, and just like, well, and also it becomes like a topic, like, like even when I have guests on, like they have to reference it because it's in the room. You know what I mean? Like, it's there. You can't
like
ignore
the third
it.
guest. Yeah.
You can't like ignore it. So they have to be like, oh, like, and you're like, So I'm over it a little bit, but it's good. We're ready.
Oh, are you ready? I was going to say, are you, because I think I have a son that's 3. I know Noah's 4.
Yeah.
I actually find one to be fairly easy. I'm wondering, wait, was Noah easy or not really?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I'd ever say easy about having a kid, but that's good. You have an easy one? Lucky you.
Maybe I'm older. Like, I'm a few years older than you. So I had KJ at 39. Now I'm 42. I don't know. I find it to be, now we're in a really good routine and he sleeps through the night. He's easy. So I have to say I'm lucky that way.
He is easy.
And I'm working on having another one, but everybody, everyone says either 2 is 20 or people are fine until you get to the third. So I'm just wondering, like, in your home, are you guys nervous about adding
what's the vibe?
Yeah, what's the vibe?
No, we're very like chill about that. We're also very like, until he comes, like, we don't even have the bassinet. Like, we have nothing set up. Like, we're very like, when the baby comes, then we kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, just this morning I was dropping Noah off and this mom was like, so, and then she starts like scaring me with all this shit. She's like, be ready for him to like, for Noah to turn into a monster and like be horrible, and be ready for everyone to like get RSV the day that you give birth. And I was just like, you're really saying like the worst possible shit. So I'll hope for the best. And also, you know what I think about that shit is like, yes, there are only children in the world, but like so many people have siblings and have dealt with having siblings, and like parents have dealt with having multiples. And so it's like, you know, even if Noah gets a little, you know, overwhelmed or sad or whatever, it's like he'll, you know, he'll
He'll
deal with
adjust.
it. He'll adjust, his personality will build from it. But no, I don't have those fears. I'm kind of like, oh, we really did this. Oh, too late to back, you know, kind of like to my husband, like, do you get what's happening? And we're both like, nope, we don't really get it. We're kind of like, when he's here, we'll roll with it. But it's true, it's crazy how you get into the groove. Everything is finally like, you know, it's easier to travel with him, and it's,
Right?
you know, bedtime, like all the things, and he can eat what you eat, and restaurant, like everything is chill. And then you're like, we should have another and start all this shit over again. And it's like, you don't even realize you're going back to square like fucking one. Like all the things, the
The
diapers and
bottles. I mean, just, and I don't know if you're doing the baby Breeza or if you're breastfeeding. Anyway, I did a little breastfeeding and then we went on to the baby Breeza and the bottles. But just even thinking about a bottle again every 3 hours or breastfeed, it's like, oh yeah, I remember how like how you kind of had to plan all your road trips around that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
It is now. It
everything.
is easier when they're 3 and 4.
Okay, so if I do bottles, I need that baby Brezza that makes the thing.
Amazing.
Yeah, okay.
Amazing.
Okay.
So much time. Yes. Order. Yes.
Order.
Whenever you're ready. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I mean, maybe you're a good breastfeeding mama. Like I was like, I
I
had this
I
vision,
mean, that doesn't mean
but
I exclusively breastfed with Noah, which is like fucking crazy. I'm already giving this kid like the second kid like second child syndrome, because I'm like, I know I'm not gonna do that again, because it was different times. Like Noah was COVID times, baby, and I was home, and I was like, this is easier. Like it was easy for me. That's what I'm saying. You know, when people look at breastfeeding, like, oh, that's amazing that you did that. Like, yeah, we're amazing, but also it was easy for me, you know, like that's why I did it. Because I was like, oh, this is way easier than putting in a bottle or, you know, measuring the cc's. Like I just whipped it out. He loved it. It was good. It was great. But it's, I just know that it won't be possible this time, you know. And with Noah, I had no help at all. And with this baby, I'm like, I'll need help because there's another one now. You know what I mean? So I'm
yeah.
like I'm giving the second kid all these other things, you know, that I'm like, I'm setting him up for like a different vibe, you know?
I'm sure it will be amazing. But yeah, it is. It's totally different. And your business is in a different place too. I mean, how old
Right.
is Not Skinny But Not Fat, the podcast now?
The podcast is 2019 I started. So was when I was pregnant, I think. But yeah, I mean, Noah was born in 2020, and that was before most of it. Like it was, yeah, my Instagram was from like 2016, podcast was 2019, but it wasn't even a business really. Like I remember, because I was working like two jobs before I gave birth. So basically, like that's how I kind of know. I'm like, damn, it's only after Noah came that like this became my income, and I started even making money from it. Like I wasn't even doing brand deals or anything like that before 2020. So
Yeah,
that's why I look at it sometimes. I'm like, Noah, you didn't mess it up. That's for sure. You know, you brought
yeah.
some mazel.
This baby will bring even more mazel. I do. I think I was always nervous to have a child. And then I had a woman tell me every mother she knows becomes even more successful with children because you have to be so focused with your time. You don't have time to, try an experimental project or just meet with random people. Like you become very focused, very prioritized about what matters, what doesn't. And she's like, every mom I know that also valued her career, the career went even better with
Oh,
kids.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. I
That made
have
me
this
feel better.
thing um that sounds dumber than that woman's thing. But I say you can be a mom and still be a dumb bitch. That kind of I mean merch and stupid shit like that. But it actually came from the place of once like this 25-year-old looked at me and was like, how old are you? Like, oh my God, it's so scary to like get older and have kids and be a mom and all this shit. And I'm like, you don't like change into this like other person. You can still be you. You can still have your interests. You can still be a dumb bitch. You can still like do all the things. And I remember promising myself that when I was pregnant with Noah, like, because like I said, my shit hadn't taken off at that point. I was scared to get pregnant because I wasn't at the place that I like wanted to be. Um, but I kept reminding myself, like, you're going to keep going. Like, what's stopping you when this baby's sleeping from, recapping Vanderpump Rules? Or what's stopping you, scrolling on Instagram or posting things that you want to post? Like, you can still do it. You can still do all those things, even when you have a baby. So that was kind of like my motto and my driving force. Like you said, like even more. Like I'm not gonna stop because of having a baby. I'm not gonna just do mom things or, cut my hair, even though I did cut my hair. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does feel good. That is a stereotype that's true, actually. The older you get, right? Once you become a mom, the hair is so heavy and you're like, oh, yeah, this is like on my neck. I gotta go get this guy and carry around a 40-pound child now. Ah.
Yeah, like it's easier. Like you're saving time. You're becoming more efficient.
Your business. I want to get back to your business because I admire so much what you've done, and I was
Thank you.
curious what. So, not skinny but not fat started out as a blog first, right? And then
As No, as just like memes. Like when I started in 2016, that was like when all those meme pages were like happening, like, fuck Jerry, therapist says, fat Jewish. And I was really into them. I was like going through a little bit of like a depressed time and they made me laugh. And I was like, I always loved writing. Like, I didn't know you could like write things and put them on Instagram and have people like relate to them. So I literally started that in Not Skinny But Not Fat, and hence the stupid name, because like everybody had a name. You get what I mean? Like the
yeah,
people that were doing the shit that I thought I was gonna do had like a handle that wasn't their name. Um, so it started like that. It was just like, let me post funny memes. And like looking back now, I'm like, those weren't that funny. But that's how it started. And then at some point, I remember throwing up like a celeb story, just like seeing if they were into it. And then they were. And then when stories became a thing, I was like, hi, it's me. Because before that, like no one knew who these people were, like meme people. Like it wasn't about you.
that's what I thought was so genius. I feel like you were one of the first people, instead of creating a whole nother separate account for you, you took your account and then showed us your face. And you
Yeah.
were one of the first women I saw. Just you'd put your apartment on your Instagram story and it would be messy and you'd be pregnant. You'd have you know what I mean? I loved that you became real and part of the meme account. I thought that was so great because I'd never seen anybody do that. And you were one of the people I was like, I'm not doing a separate Sarah Fraser. Like I tried it
Mm.
for a minute, but I'm like, fuck it. Like I see her doing it. Like I'm just gonna put my life on this and mix in celebrity stories. And I love that you have done that. And I'm curious, were the people that followed you from the Instagram meme account, do you think those initially became your podcast listeners, or do you think it was almost like an entirely separate audience?
Well, I do remember, it's like funny when you keep it kind of all under, I'm like very streamlined. I couldn't think of like separating things, and so when I remember when I was like, damn, like this is not just a hobby or this is going somewhere, like I want to be part of it. Hello. And I remember at the beginning, like very beginning, I would like all of a sudden post myself or something and just see like 1,000 unfollows. And, you know, and it made sense to me. I was like, this is part of the game. You know, it's kind of like when you start a business and you lose money at first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I got it. Some people were following for memes that were dumb. And they were like, who's this chick? Like, whoops, why am I following? What's this account I'm following? And I remember, like, even then, even though I'm sure I wasn't business minded at the time, I'm still not great at that stuff. But I took it as like part of it. You know, I was like, okay, like that's okay because I'm gonna be here. So if you don't want to see this face and you're only here for like a meme, then this isn't the right place, you know, because I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna make myself part of it. Um, so I don't know. It is interesting to think because then the podcast came later. And I'm sure there are people that listen to the podcast that don't even follow me, you know, and I'm sure there are people that follow me and aren't podcast people. So you can't really know, but I do know. I mean, obviously, some people are OGs of following me since 2016, which is literally fucking almost like 10 years, which is wild. But again, it was a slow start. It wasn't like a TikTok explosion, right? It wasn't like I started yesterday and have, you know, 1 million followers today. It was it's years in the making kind of thing.
But what was the podcast like? Was the podcast almost an instant hit when you put it out? Because you know, to your point, you'd been working since 2016, so you knew a little bit about media. You'd grown a following. So when you put that first episode out, I mean, was it almost like, oh my God, you clicked refresh the next day and you're like 25,000 people tuned in? Like, was it instant?
No, it wasn't like that. It was first of all, it was at the beginning I did it with my sister because I just wanted to talk about pop culture stuff. It wasn't even guest based. So I was like, I need somebody to talk to, you know. And I remember I didn't even have a network at the time, and I really thought I could just do it by myself. I was like, I can do it by myself. And I like literally figured out how to like embed an episode into podcasts. I know, like so
Love
funny
it.
when you
No,
want.
me
Yeah,
too. Me too. I love that you, I think that's great.
I know now it's like I can't figure out sometimes how to like connect my Bluetooth, you know? And then I'm like, how did I then embed an episode? But what was funny then is I finally found someone like from college, like a college friend told me that someone we went to school with like is producing. So I contacted him. He like was like, yeah, okay, like I'll produce the show. And he was great for the beginning. And totally understood when I ended up moving on. But even he at the beginning was like, wait, you already put out an episode? Like you didn't wait until like you had the proper shit set up. And then I was like, you know what? You're right. Like my thing is being very impetuous and it works in my favor in a lot of ways of like, let's put this out, let's do this now. Blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, sometimes you need to make things be better and then put them out. So I remember I like retracted the first episode, worked with this guy, took a proper stupid photo, you know, to put it out there. But no, I remember at the beginning it was like, oh, to get an ad, like you need like to have 5,000 people listen. And it was like, okay, let's get 5,000 people. You know what I mean? Like it was a slow start, you know, slow and steady. So definitely in shock myself like where it went. And also it used to be kind of like Instagram is like my baby and the podcast is like a fun extension, but like whatever. And now it's like I'm so obsessed with it. Like I go to sleep thinking about it. You know, I think all the time about like who I want to have and the intro and then like my husband is like stop for a second. Like think like it just became such a huge part that is so important to me and so like what I feel like I should be doing, want to be doing. And again, like shook that it got to where it did. Like my first episode was, and the timing was so good. The first episode was the Jordan and Tristan scandal.
Okay, that one's like that went to the moon. Like that was the one that you like woke up and had like 30,000.
No, that was my first
Oh, that was
episode.
like the first episode
Yeah, that was
ever.
the
Oh,
first
okay, okay.
episode ever. So like it was just good timing then because it was like shit was happening, you know?
Yeah,
Like now
yeah,
shit is like happening, but like we had some stuff. Like we had scandals. We had
yeah.
Jordan Tristan, then there was like Hilaria Baldwin and what's his face, Army Hammer. Like there was some stuff happening to like deep dive into, and that was definitely a fun part of it. And now it's like I can barely find time to like do like a solo pod, or not time, but like in the schedule, like it kind of like I'm like, oh, I can't kind of get a solo pod in.
How have you handled, because now you're a destination for these big guests. I mean, Andy Cohen, Amy Schumer, Tom Schwartz. So
I love your and Tom Schwartz. You're right.
Kardashians, Tom Schwartz.
Wild get. No, he's so cute. Yeah.
Isn't he so handsome in real life? I tell
I
people,
mean,
oh my God, he's tall
I
and
gave him
stunning.
so many compliments that day. I was like, okay, glow up. Like, okay, you look great. And then at some point I was like, okay, calm down. Like, Um, but he really does. I mean, I think that last season he was like not great, at the beginning. Like
Yeah.
I feel like just where you are in life affects like how you look. And I feel like he's probably doing better because he does look better. So yes, Amy Schumer, Tom Schwartz.
Yeah, right. And of course, we have to talk Kardashians because that was, I mean, unbelievable. But what I was curious about is I mean, you get these huge names pitched to you now. How has your interview style evolved? I mean, do you spend a lot of time now prepping them? I mean, now you really are obsessed to the detail of your show. So what's your process like? I'm curious to interview these guys.
Yeah, I mean it shifted, and I think it's also like the culture has shifted so much where like media and PR, like they're getting the podcasts are like part of the shit.
Mhm.
And I feel like not everyone gets it yet, and they'll get there. But and they'll do like the traditional like Good Morning America and like blah blah blah. But like I think a lot of places are getting that like this needs to be part of the PR train that, um that the actors do, or comedians or whoever, reality stars, when they're doing press. Um, and yeah, and it's wild to have watched like that happen, like podcasts become a stop on the train. It's like so many times I'll have a guest go from me to Colbert, or from me to Kelly Clarkson, Drew Barrymore, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I can't believe that I'm even part of their train. Like I'm a train stop
Yeah.
in this thing. So first of all, it's cool to even watch it as like a media observer. Like, wow, podcasts. I wasn't by any means a pioneer of podcasting. Like 2019, there were plenty of podcasts around. But they were like this underground thing that like wouldn't get media pickup. Nobody really, like, you could say the wildest shit. That's why people are finding out things that people are saying now on podcasts, because like then it was like you could say anything, nobody's listening. Um, which I feel like is such a cool and missed part, because like I love feeling that way, like where there is a space where you could like genuinely just like say whatever, and like no
Yes.
one, like, and it won't get anywhere. And that's why I do love, like, even though I do film mine and I ended up being convinced to like, start posting clips and the YouTube and whatever, but I really think that like when it's in your ear and you're just listening, it's different. It's not clippable. It's like you're just listening to something, and it's just so different. I feel like that's what a podcast should be. Um, and then people aren't like, oh, let me clip it. Let me make it, out of context. Like, no, you're listening to like a conversation. But anyway, how did my process change? Well, I feel like definitely at the beginning it was cringier. Um, to like, I'm sure, like, how your voice changes, like even looking back, like I feel like my voice was for sure 8 octaves higher. And I think that today, like today, I'll do the same prep for Tom Schwartz that I do for Kristen Stewart. Like it's the same. Like I'm still gonna come like completely prepared with my little cards, and then the conversation can go in one way and fuck the cards, or sometimes you follow them because that's the vibe of this interview. But I always come fully prepared. Where it could be that at the beginning I was like, let's just chat. You know what I mean? Like now
Yes.
I'm much more like there's a process to it. But I go into every single one, whether it's somebody that I'm like, fangirling over, to somebody that, I'm like, oh, cool. This is like friendly and chill, I'll go into it the same way. So I can feel the same amount of like confidence with the material, Because the thing you don't know, as you know, is like what the vibe is going to be. That's one thing you can't know.
Right?
So
Do you prep yourself? Like, do you prep yourself at all? Because every
I
single
think of the
interview.
worst. I think of the worst. I'm like, this is gonna be awful. I won't post it. Like, if anything, we won't air it. That's how I go in. Yeah. And then it's always funny because those ones are always the ones that like end up being so great. Where I'm like, you know what? We'll do it. We won't put it out, And I've never not put out an episode, but I think having that in the back of my mind is an option. Like, this isn't live to tape. If it's horrible, nobody has to know. But you can't know the vibe. Like, so many times I've sat in a chair waiting for the guests to come in, not knowing, and it could go wildly different. You could all of a sudden, like, you can come to shake somebody's hand and they hug you and they love you and they know you, or you can like come to hug somebody and they're like, hi, and you're like, oh, okay, that's not the vibe. So it's like you never really know. So I feel like that's why being super prepared, and then the only variable is really like the vibe, because that you can't control. If like if if you don't have like a click, you know what I mean, then it's going to be just an interview where you're learning more about the person. But
What do
it's
you
so,
what
yeah.
do you personally do when they walk in? I always find the most awkward part is when you've rented a studio space, or like for you guys, Dear Media has a spot in New York or here in LA, where everybody's going to sit. What do you say to your guest? Do you let them choose? Because I do have a
No.
side I prefer, but then they come in and they're like, God, that's really my. It's always there. So I'm like, of course, you're going to. I'm going to look like I've got a double chin on the other side. But I always find that the awkward part, but I find that to be the icebreaker of like, where do you want to sit? Because I want them to
Mm.
feel comfortable. But what do you like? Do you have, if you sense the vibe is a little off, is there something you do to try to get them on your side, or what do you do?
Well, I think they usually like, it's such human nature, and with me especially, obviously with also the career that I chose and what I do, like, it is so important for me for you to like me. You know what I mean? That like I'm working on that from second one. You know what I mean? So first of all, no, with us, like I sit in a chair and like the guest sits in a couch. So like I'm always like, there's your couch. And they do love it because the studio has such good lighting. They're always obsessed. Like they're like, like give them good lighting, like you got them. You know what I mean? So I don't ask like, do you have a side? The only person I asked if they have a side is Kim Kardashian, because obviously, and she didn't. And I was like, of course you don't, because you are perfect. And by the way, I don't even know my side. I feel like I probably have one, but I don't even really care. Like at that moment, like as much as I'm in it, like, fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck the way I look, as long as there's like, but you're right. I just told a girl that works with me yesterday, because I recorded a pod yesterday, and I was like, it's so crazy that like I have to small talk when they get there, do
Right?
an hour interview, and then small talk before they leave. Like it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of talking. And
It's
it's a lot
exhausting.
of like, you can't like start the interview. Like, no, you're gonna talk, you're gonna chit chat for like 10 minutes, right? And then you have the interview, and then it ends, and then you're not gonna be like, bye. Like you're gonna have another like 10 minutes. And sometimes it's not enough and you just want to keep going and like chatter, but sometimes it's harder. And sometimes you're like, you know, I want to go pee. I'm sweating.
I need
Yeah.
a snack. I've got to use the restroom. I know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that wild? Sometimes you're there with a really famous person and you're thinking to yourself, I've got to run. Like, I've got to,
Yeah.
right?
I
Isn't
gotta
that weird?
go.
You're like,
I
most
think
people would kill to be here, but you're looking at Kim going, okay, Kim, lovely. I need a snack. I've got to use the bathroom. I got to call Noah. I mean, it's so funny. Look, I'm curious. The Kardashians, I mean, oh my God, those moments you had, iconic.
yeah.
As other podcasters, we all wanted to be you in that moment. I mean, after you interviewed Kim, you went to Kourtney's house. Have you sent them thank you notes? Like, what do you do after? Because I'd be like forever. Oh, you and I just interviewed Drake Bell.
Right.
And I got to have the first interview with Drake Bell, and I'm like,
Right.
I need to send this man something because it does catapult
That's
you.
so nice.
People do notice, right? I mean, they do. They go, "Oh my God, you're that woman that got, the interview with Kourtney." I'm just wondering, did you ever follow up with their assistants? I mean, I don't even know what you'd send. Like, what could you possibly send Kim? Like, I don't even
No,
know.
I didn't. I didn't. And it's wild looking back, like it almost sounds like unbelievable the way the Kim interview happened because it was a pitch to me from Hulu, like legit, that I thought was fake because I have a website that like probably needs to be updated. It's like super old. And there's like a contact me page. So it came through that. All of a sudden I got like interview. I was like getting my nails done, like a pedicure. I remember sitting in that chair and like looking through my emails and getting like the submission. It comes in as like a submission when it's from your website. And it was like, Kim Kardashian, hey Amanda, as you know, Kardashians are moving to Hulu. Would you be interested in interviewing Kim Kardashian for Not Skinny But Not Fat? And I was like, haha, trolls, I literally thought it was a troll thing. I was like, the trolls have gotten low and they are now just like trying to really fuck with you. And I remember I linked in the girl that it said in the signature, and I was like, okay, she works at Hulu. This is fucking crazy. So that to me is still unbelievable. Like, in what world? Like, because when I used to get asked when I started the pod, like, who's your dream guest? Like, obviously, a lot of people thought the Kardashians, and I wouldn't even, and I remember, was it a friend that reminded me, like, or a story that came up for me in memories that was like, I'm not gonna even say the Kardashians because that's never gonna happen. Like I'm not gonna like that can't even be an answer because it's so far fetched. And then the fact that it happened is crazy. But I think the fact that it was like, because I didn't even think I was in a position to like ask or like send an inquiry, like no, like I'm Delulu, but I'm not that Delulu. So that was crazy as fuck. Like, and then it was kind of like, and then I remember realizing it's real, talking about it, planning it, and always saying in my head, like, this isn't going to happen. Like, something's going to happen before the world's going to end,
I
like
would have thought canceled last minute, reset.
canceled
Yeah.
for sure. Like, it's great. This was a cool thing to have been, proposed about, but it's not going to happen. And then it fucking happened. And it was really fucking cool. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, and then I remember coming back home and like talking to one of the people that works with Kim, and they were really happy about the interview and everything, and her being like, "So when's Khloé?" And she wasn't kidding. Yeah. And then we planned Khloé. She wasn't
Oh, wait,
kidding.
was Chris that actually Chris is one of my favorites. Was
I know,
Chris,
I'm trying. I know. One
is
day.
was Chris there though? Was Chris on set?
No,
He
no, no,
wasn't.
no, no. With Kim, only North was there. North was in the office. And then with Khloé, because like I said, like the Khloé, it was wild. Like it was literally like, oh, the interview went so well, everybody's so happy. When's Khloé? And I was like, haha. And she was like, really? And then I did Khloé, I think like very shortly after. And I did Khloé at Kim's office. Um, as we know, they got like really close and like started sharing spaces. And so I ended up coming back there to Kim's office and doing Khloé. And then Kim was there that day. And I remember I was about to leave the premises, and one of the assistants came to grab me and was like, Kim is in the glam room, like she wants to say hi to you. And I was like, okay. So then I went and I felt like I was on the episode of the Kardashians. By the way, what they were filming then, which is so funny because I was
Wow.
totally talking shit about something. And then I literally was like, oh my God, Kim, don't use this. As if I'm like, and I remember her, like, she joked with me. She was like, well, she's like, I won't, but now, like, I have something on you, like, made some sort of a joke. Like, because I did forget the cameras were there and I was just like just talking. And what happened, by the way, if anyone's ever in this situation, I was in Calabasas, got so wrapped up in talking to Kim and being in this moment and living a dream
My God.
that like my production team left, like everyone left, and there I was in Calabasas without a car, thinking you could just order an Uber and have it come in 3 minutes like it does in New York City. And while I'm talking to her, I'm like, I'm like putting in the you know, my hotel address, and it's like 17 minutes. Like that's what it said. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna overstay my welcome with Kim Kardashian. Like I'm gonna fucking like she wanted a 5 minute chit chat. Here I am being stuck here for 20 more minutes. I don't even know how I handled that. But that was what was racing through my brain while I'm talking to her. Like, I need to like leave. I don't want to over fucking stay. But my Uber is here in 20 minutes. And by the way, I didn't learn from that mistake because then when I went back to Kourtney's, that happened to me again. I got so wrapped up. I was eating the health nut salad, literally just like enjoying life, and came to order a car. Next time, like I'll know, like have the car wait. Have the fucking car wait because
Yeah.
they're not getting through that gated community so quickly. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God. So
Celebrity.
again, it happened to me that I was at Kourtney's house waiting for an Uber. She was like, okay, like so fun. I need to go get glam for like this event tonight. So she goes upstairs and there I am with my like ranch, like in drenched salad. Just like finishing it.
Sitting at
You
their
can
counter at their island. You're like waiting by yourself. Like, well,
waiting by myself. Like I don't even know how that happened to me twice. I've definitely now learned my lesson. Like have the car wait. Ubers, it's not like in New York. You can't fucking hail a taxi in Calabasas. So yeah, those were definitely surreal, cool moments. And they've been so great to me and kind to me, and I still don't get it. I'm like looking back, like, you know, I don't get it. What about me like made them feel like it was a good place for them? You know what I mean? And so
well,
it's
I mean, you have been a person that's been on their side for the most part. I mean, I think you're like all of us, right? You know, if something's strange or out of pocket, you know, you comment, or obviously Kim and Kanye have had so many moments, right? It's hard not to comment. But you have been, I think, a fan, right?
right,
I mean, it must feel nice, like you, and I think there's something genuine there. They
right,
clearly they
right.
feel that. And I'm curious, do you stay in touch with them now? I know it was sort of like a DM type of relationship and obviously email through Hulu, but do you hear from them randomly like, "Hey, you know, how are you? We got another season," or
They're really sweet. Like I said, like when I got pregnant, like Kim like DM'd me like congratulations. And so they're really, really kind still. And I am on their side. And I think then when like I for sure before I knew they were watching, I was probably being snarkier. You know what I mean? Like for the most part, always a fan because I've always loved the show and loved them. But I'm sure I was like, oh, you know, what is Khloé wearing? Like, I'm sure I said shit like that, not knowing they're watching. But I think for them, probably is what after many hours and days of overthinking, it's like they probably liked the balance of, okay, she likes us and supports us for the most part. When she's you know, saying something maybe not that great. It's not bitchy and mean. It's just kind of whatever. She's also not sucking our dick. So it's not like super fan vibes, you know? So it just felt like, okay, maybe they like see that like a different spice that they haven't encountered that like works. Um, but yeah, no, they're super great and like, you know, through
yeah.
DM
Any
and
mom advice? Have they hit you as Courtney or
oh my
Kim
God,
sent you anything
Kourtney.
like use this product or do this?
Well, Kourtney does a lot of times when we chat, like say stuff, and I'm like, we are such different vibes, Kourtney. She's the like, I love being pregnant. I wish I could be pregnant all year long forever. And she's Kourtney. She's legit what you see. You know what I mean? And I get why Kim and Khloé can often be like, oh, Kourtney, because she is that like, yes, matcha and organic, and like, you know, it's fun to be pregnant and I'm like, okay, we're not on the same page there. I will never say that. But yeah, she sent me some, you know, when I was going through like the heartburn and stuff. She was like, I took papaya enzymes, and I was like, she probably didn't have the heartburn. You know, she was flowing, she was doing fine. But she is that very much like positive. I feel like ever since Travis, just like that's her vibe for real. Like
Yeah.
pregnancy is perfect, labor is perfect, baby's everything's like this like magical fairy tale that, that no one can come close to.
Yeah. I've always heard amazing things about them, that they are great. They have a great reputation here. I live in LA, and you know them far better than I do. But everywhere you go, people that do meet them always say they're amazing. And the other thing is, they never seem to. I'm sure they don't reward people that trash them, but they never seem to go out of their way to shut anything down. Like I think they're genius. They just want you talking about them. They really,
I don't
Chris
get
and
how
Kim
they
are.
do it because I'm like, shut it down. I'm like, sometimes like I'll know something because they've either told me or something. And I'm like, how aren't you commenting on this? Because I know from you or I know that it's not true and they just won't. And I'm like, the restraint is like insane. Like I could never. I have to restrain myself, like, not commenting back to like one mean comment. You know what I mean? Like
Really?
like like I have to restrain myself to not be like, well, fuck you, and why are you on my page, you troll? And I'm like, literally, Kim can have entire narratives and articles and stories, and masses of people think one thing that she knows isn't true, for example, and she won't fucking say it, and she'll see it second after second, day after day, TikTok after TikTok. I'm like, whoa, like, no, she's a machine though. But I think Kim is like really built out of like robot material. Like, I really think there's no one like her that can withstand that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how somebody deals with all that shit and is okay with it. And she truly is. And she truly is. It's not like people think like they're super affected. Like they're not that affected.
Love it. I think I love that part of them. They never shut anything down. I mean, I've talked about this numerous times, but Ava Louise, the internet, star, has been on my podcast. She's the one that started the rumor that Jeffree Star and Kanye West slept together. And they never did anything. They never, I mean, that was a
Oh,
bold-faced lie. And Ava has come out and said it's a bold-faced lie.
oh, she said she made it up.
Yes, it was she completely made it up just to start this. She's changed, she says. So she doesn't talk shit like that on the internet anymore, but she completely made that up and she never, nothing. She even, I think she even lied about, now God, I'm sure someone will pick this up. But anyway, I think she even lied about, she said that Chris sent her a cease and desist. And I think that was a lie. I don't think Chris ever sent her. I'm almost 100% Bible certain that never happened.
Oh
They
wow.
never,
See,
they
it's
never
really
shut
hard
it
for
down.
me to like understand that people lie. You know what I mean? That people can just lie, but to that extent, like make something up out of thin air and say that it's true. It's always, that's why whenever there's like a rumor, I'm like, okay, then it's probably true. Cause like, why would it be a rumor? Unless it's like really stupid, unless like Hailey Bieber is like touching her stomach and it's like everyone's like, she's pregnant, then I'm like, it could be
No,
it's probably a rumor.
people lie so much, so much.
That's crazy.
You brought up, I have a few more questions. I could talk to you for 3 hours. I love what you do, but you brought up for a second, like it's hard for you not to respond to one comment. And I'm curious, over the years, you've also become the conversation. I mean, people have all kinds of thoughts on your interview style, on you have been outspoken on some political things, which I think is great. I think we're in the opinion business, but whatever you put out there politically, anything, you're going to get people that love you and hate you. So how do you do that balance? Like, do you care what people think? Have you made up your mind that you're going to share political thoughts or beliefs or your background? Where are you at with all that?
I think that first of all, with me, like I really rather have half of the followers or listeners or whatever than have people that are following me or listening and either don't like me or it's like I really if I could actually choose, like for me it's really not about like the number or the whatever. Like I really want good people around, and I want people that like want to follow my Instagram and like if I pop up in their feed. Like, so if I really like with the Israel stuff, I'm assuming you're talking about, like, if you followed me for a long enough or even for a second, you know that like my mom's Israeli, I grew up in Israel, my husband's Israeli,
Yeah.
I speak Hebrew at home, like this is like my life. So I think that for me, like I for sure got hate and shit and whatever, but like I felt like it wasn't maybe as harsh as on other people that like it's like, oh, I didn't know they, felt this way. And I'm like, I've never hid that part of my life. Like, I go to Israel at least once a year. I always show it in the most positive light. So I think for like people that don't know me and all of a sudden they'll see like, something that I said about what's going on and speaking out for the hostages or something like that, then it's like, oh, she's a Zionist. And I'm like, people that follow me for long enough, like know where I'm from, know where my family's from. Like,
Yeah.
so, and by the way, like the amount of like out, like pouring support and people on the street that come up to me, like, and instead of saying, hey, I love your podcast or whatever, would come up to me and say, thank you for like speaking out. People
Yeah.
would cry with me on the street. It was like, so that part was much more. And also I really had this like, I really have this gut feeling like, yeah, a lot of times I can say shit and I'll be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Like it's fucked up, or maybe I shouldn't have said that. It got me in too much trouble and it's not worth it. But like there's some things that's worth it. You know what I mean? Some
Absolutely.
things that's like you believe in them enough that that's your truth and you're not going to hide it. Some things you're like, okay, Amanda, if literally you're going to get like fucking killed over this stupid comment you don't care about, then don't say it. But like with this stuff, it's like, it goes so much deeper and above like other stupid shit that like, and also when you see so many other people being silent, and so I did feel the responsibility. I hope that I did in a way that didn't feel,
No, you
I
did.
did.
No, you've done a great job. And yeah, we should be speaking up for the hostages, 100%, and nobody wants to see innocent people killed. But Israel was attacked. And if it had happened here in America, and it has, we would absolutely retaliate. And to your point, it's a much bigger cultural issue for the Jewish community, much more than this. And you are far more educated than I am. But what you've done is, I feel that way. You are true to who you are. And I think people should do that, whatever they believe. But I love to hear you do it. I think it's sad that it has to be brave, because I think once we get a certain amount of success in your podcast, in your business, I think as business women, you hear a lot, well, you don't want to wade into politics. People aren't gonna, don't do this, don't do
And I
that.
really don't think, by the way, I'm like in the opinion that I don't think every single person needs to speak up on everything. This specifically is a personal matter to me. My family lives there, friends live there, like I said. So it's like you're living it. Like we had news on all day from Israel. So it's like it's I don't expect every celebrity, to have a statement. And also, by the way, I have a lot of Jewish followers too, and people that do support Israel, for example. Well, they'll get mad at me if I like post Gigi Hadid. If I'll be like, oh, Gigi Hadid and Bradley Cooper, I'll get a gazillion messages like, why are you posting her? Why are you giving her attention? And Billie Eilish, who wore, a pin for a ceasefire, uh I then posted about her like article coming out, and then I'll get like the flip side shit, of like, why are you posting her? Why are you giving her a platform? And I'm like, first of all, I think it's so nuanced and so complicated where like, do I, it's Billy believes there should be a ceasefire. I believe there should be a ceasefire. A lot of people take that to mean, oh, it's only Israel and they're not blaming, Hamas or whatever, and get in. But I'm like, Billie Eilish is 19 years old or however the fuck she is. Her cooler, older, liberal brother is like, wear this pin. So she did. Like, I can't take everything to mean so much or to
Yeah.
mean that somebody hates me or somebody is anti-Semitic towards me. There is so much if you look at what is happening in colleges, like that's crazy. But also when friends ask me like, how are you doing? I see New York is ablaze. And I'm like, No, I'm fine. I don't know what's happening in these colleges,
Yeah.
but like, no, I'm living my life. Like, I feel non-threatened. Like, I'm okay. And also, I really felt like in this specific scenario, people think that like, Amy Schumer is going to be canceled because she spoke out for Israel. No, she won't. Like,
Yeah.
no, she won't. She's going to keep on making movies. She's going to keep on having a career. So I think people think that like people should be fearful as if it's some unpopular opinion that will get you canceled. And it's like you can have a lot of people spewing a lot of hate at you, but like where it matters, people aren't gonna, your business is not gonna be hurt because you're like free the hostages or, whatever. Like it's not. So the people that think that I feel like are the closed-minded people that are crazy. But it's wild to me to see like Amy Schumer, like you said, like if people think I'm brave, like
Oh,
she
she like
can't
goes all
post
out.
a
Yeah.
picture. She can't post a picture of herself or a new project without being like attacked, like, but to a point of like craziness. And she still, I remember when she came on my podcast, and at the end I said, okay, by the way, I didn't want to ask you questions about like Israel stuff. And she's like, why? Like, you should have. Like,
Oh,
she said
don't you
that.
hate that moment with guests when they're like, you should have gone there? I'm like, ah,
No, but like I didn't want to because I didn't want that for the interview or for her. Like that's not what it was about. Like, you know what I mean? Like I didn't want it to be like a political thing.
yeah.
And I knew like it would have those comments either way. But like the fact that she was like bold faced, like, you know, I know, but that moment they were talking about does happen. Like yesterday, I had on a guest
I
who's
know.
coming on with a new show. And then after I was like, oh, I forgot to ask if there's going to be another season. She's like, yep, 4 and 5. And I'm like, damn it. But then I'm like, but then I told her, I was like, you wouldn't have told me though. You wouldn't have told me. You would have told me like, and wait and see. And she's like, yeah, I wouldn't have told you. So it's like, yeah, sometimes you'll be like, why didn't I ask that? But at the same time, you'll be told things off air, obviously, that on air, you
Well,
wouldn't have gotten the answer.
look, I had that moment with Drake Bell and you went there. I had kind of heard he didn't want to talk about Amanda Bynes, so I didn't ask him.
Mm,
But he was so open during the interview. I kept thinking, God, I ought to ask him about Amanda Bynes. Anyway, I didn't.
mm,
He did talk about her a bit on your show. And I'm like, oh, I hate that. Like I should have just gone there. I'd rather have them say at the end, like, could you not air that? Or could we
right.
you know what I mean? Instead of not going there. Cause usually once they like you and they're coming to your show and they're comfortable, they will talk about everything, or they're very seasoned to shut it down. Like,
Yeah.
not gonna, I can't comment or whatever.
Yeah.
I have that moment all the time.
I mean, it happens.
Look, you've been so generous with your time. I want to do rapid fire and get you out of here. We didn't even talk pop culture because your life is so interesting. But Vanderpump Rules. Why do you think it's on pause this summer for filming?
First of all, Vanderpump is like my OG, my baby, my like my what do they call it? My what was that trend? Roman Empire. Like Vanderpump Rules is just my favorite. I'm like Rihanna in that way. Why do I think it's on pause? I mean, now I'm hearing there are two things going on, right? It's like either it's really they're like we want to see them get back to their lives and not deal with Scandival anymore because everyone's over it, or they want to wait for like more interesting shit to happen. But it is true that Ariana is filming, she's hosting Love Island this summer. So maybe they want to make sure that she's around for filming. But like, I don't think it's very smart for them to take so much time off because as it is with the schedule of filming, we're always waiting and waiting for a new season. And we're like over it by the time it comes out because we already know everything that happened. So, and now you want to take longer? Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea for them.
Do you think Ariana could really be in serious hot water or go to jail over this porn lawsuit from Rachel Leviss that she shared the alleged porn sex video?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think, but it's funny. Yesterday, everyone's turning on my girl Lala now, which is like sad for me to see because I love her. But like everyone's turning. It's like the mob mentality that we talked about. That now I'm like, wow, Lala can't say anything now without being like eaten alive, where like she used to say the same shit and everyone loved her for it. So what shifted? But somebody yesterday when I posted about the pause was like, well, Ariana and Katie, they don't need the show. Like they'll be fine. And I'm like, Lala will be fine too. It's like now, like it's just like they're putting people in these categories, and like I don't like it. I don't like it. People need to remember that it's like a show, even though Vanderpump Rules, like these people do live it. I know for a fact, like they live it. It's all happening. It's all real. But it's like it annoys me that people turned on Lala. But no, I don't think Ariana will be in hot water. It'll be interesting to see. I think at the end of the day, like, yes, people have moved out of reality TV, but a lot of times, like, it is like their main thing, and that's what keeps them kind of going.
Mhm.
So I do think the cast kind of like, you know, should want it to stay around.
Yeah. And I mean they had enormous ratings this past season. So I'm shocked that they're on.
Yeah. What do you think?
I don't know. There's so much going on with Bravo. I have a theory on Bravo and why BravoCon is delayed. And Andy, I think that they want to become a little bit less visible. I think that they're pulling everything back because there's so much heat on them with these lawsuits and the reality reckoning. I think everything is being pulled back. Like they've been out there in the forefront. They've done these BravoCons, and Andy said everything he wanted. I think you're going to see a much more subdued Andy. I think you're going to see a much more everything being slowed down because I feel like they want to go the way of the TLC network, which is follow me here.
Hey, you're losing me at TLC a little bit. Yep.
But TLC for years has just been a fly on the wall. They don't make their people stars. They don't want stars, and they get enormous ratings, even though they're not talked about like Bravo. And I think Bravo is taking a page from them where we're going to step back. We're always still going to be Bravo, but we don't want to be the network that is in the mix all the time because I think they've got some real lawsuits on their hands.
Hmm. Interesting. Wait, what's on TLC? Like 90 Day Fiance?
90 Day Fiance. Sister Wives is a show that's been on for 18 seasons. It's about a polygamy family. They're all getting divorced now. And it has huge ratings, like 2 million people. See,
Well, yeah.
I tried to pitch, I took a page out of your book. You had the Kardashian recap show. I tried to pitch TLC. I'm like, let me do a Sister Wives recap show, like this show with, with Amanda.
And they didn't want it.
No, they literally told me, and I'm not saying anything they don't tell people, but they go, no, we don't want to make our people stars. We're not in that business. We're fly on the wall network. We come into your home and we film you when you don't think we're there. That's our motto.
Oh
So
my
they
God, you know what I'm pretty sure Kristen Stewart said like that's one of her favorite shows.
Sister Wives.
Yeah.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God.
Yeah. And I remember being like, really? But you know what? I'm gonna sleep on your little theory. I'm
Right?
gonna sleep on it because I can understand how it's also like, well, ever since like the Bethany clause, right? They can't like touch their income. But it's like, yeah, why is it in their prerogative to make these people like money on Instagram or make them have huge businesses? You know what I mean? Like, I could see why they would be like over that. But yeah, I need to get the tea. Sometimes I don't use my sources. I like to act like just a regular viewer because sometimes I don't even want to know. And sometimes like people that know that I like know the people, for instance, will be like, just ask them. And I'm like, no. And I don't like to be annoying, but like I will try to find out now, at least for myself, like why they're pausing. But like it could be the
I want to
Ariana
know.
thing too. Like it couldn't, like how long is Love Island? It's the whole summer.
Well, that one actually shocks me, the Vanderpump, because that's doing extremely well. But BravoCon, it doesn't shock me. I mean, I have a theory. I don't think BravoCon is coming back in 2025. I think they're going to test out these small city
Well, they
events.
shouldn't. It's like enough with BravoCon. It's like too much. Like what is that? What are we trying to do here?
Yeah.
What are we trying to do here? We
Yeah.
need Bravo fans to be fucking crazier.
And
Like
they're
more.
crazy. They get up there, they boo people, they ask the most vicious questions.
No, I'm saying like, wow, BravoCon is so scary to me. Like it's so scary to me that I get it. I get it. I get why they would maybe delay it. But you're right about Vanderpump. Like it's fucking so good. Why would they stop it? Even though the Valley is giving right now.
I know that is doing. I haven't even watched. I can't take on another show, but I hear it's amazing. So I'm
Well,
gonna get.
take it on. Take it on.
That's next. Amanda Hirsch, not skinny but not fat. Thank you so much. Please come back because I got a whole question. I think you should write a book. See, now I'm giving you, giving you. I'm
Yeah.
like, when's your book coming out? You know, we didn't even get into. I mean, you have an amazing life story too. I mean, you've got to share it all and the gossip behind the scenes. I mean, this is like a Joan Rivers biography here coming soon. So
I mean, she's an icon. By the way, like it used to be such a dream of mine to write a book. I think a lot of things, to me at least, were dreams, and then when you're older, you realize how hard they are.
how much
You
time
know?
it takes.
Yeah. And you're like, let's change that dream. But we'll see. I mean, who's not writing a book, you know?
Might as well put out yours. It would be so good. Not skinny but not fat. Top podcast. And this woman has remained a top podcaster for years, which is extremely hard to do. Everybody follow her. Amanda, I appreciate you so much for coming on.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you so much.